hours after I got my laptop, but it wasn't so bad.
It's 61 pages for each email too.
Streaming. Okay, it looks like we're live. We are live and we're on YouTube. And awesome. Good evening. I would like to call the Land Use and Building Management Committee to order. Today is Wednesday, December 6th, and it is 7:04 p.m. Roll call tonight. We have with us Jim Frayer, Greg Burnett, Nicole Ayers, and our new member, welcome to Heather Dunn, and myself, Barbara Smith. We also have another new member of the Common Council, DeJuan Wiggins, who hopefully will be joining us shortly, and Jen McMurray from the council, who has come over onto our committee, who cannot make it tonight. So we will move on with the first item on the agenda, which is public participation. Do we have anyone waiting to speak? Hi, Johan. Thanks for joining to watch. Okay. Okay, it looks like we don't have
Joanne,
anyone.
I'm sorry, Joanne. Joanne is she's my assistant, but she's also managing the meeting. Did you get that? Does anybody want to speak under public participation?
Yeah, if there is, raise your hand, but there's not. I saw Johan.
Okay. Oh, you have access to it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so seeing that no one is signed up for public participation, I will close public participation and move on to the minutes of our previous meeting of October 4th. Do I have a motion, please? Mr. Burnett moves the minutes. Are there any changes, deletions, additions? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Ms. Ayers, Mr. Frayer. Okay, so that is 4 abstentions. Ms. Dunn abstains, and that would leave us with no no's. So that passes 4 with 1 abstention. There is no old business, so we will move on to new business. Item A, request for the naming of the tennis facilities at Oak Hill Park in honor of Mr. Arthur Goldblatt, local attorney, longtime Norwalk resident, and dedicated supporter of tennis in the community, with special interest in promoting tennis and education with urban kids. Subject to committee's review and support, scheduling of a public hearing is required per ordinance. Will someone move that item, please? Mr. Burnett moves the item. And, you know, this is actually something I'm very excited about and support wholeheartedly. Art Goldblatt is so well known in the community, the founder of Grassroots Tennis, which has, you know, just helped so many kids in our community. And so we have with us Denise Brown from Oak Hills to discuss this. Alan, did you have anything you want to say in terms of catching us up?
No, just on a personal note. I mean, I think back in 1982, 84, that's when I first time I met Art, and I actually helped him to do put the tennis court in at Colonial Village, and since then I worked with him on the tennis center. Was he also a corporation counsel at one point?
He was on the Oak Hills Park Authority Council.
Oh, I thought it was a Norwalk Norwalk Corporation Council at one point.
Well, yes,
he was
actually Corporation Council under Mayor Bill Collins.
Oh, okay. Very
yes.
Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, would you like me to speak, Barbara?
Sure, please do.
Yeah.
Please
I mean, what you just read about Art is pretty much what I came here to talk about. So what we had done when Art was let me start back. In 2019, Art formed a small committee, which is called the Tennis Friends of Oak Hills, which is kind of an offshoot for Oak Hills Park. It's just a bunch of volunteer tennis players. We all get together and just have a social, casual gathering, playing tennis on the weekends. So Art started a drop-in tennis clinic, and he invited everybody. It wasn't just for Norwalk players. It was for anybody who would like to join. So, which was Art's way of, he was always very welcoming. You know, he never wanted to tell anybody that they couldn't join in if they were interested. And that's kind of how he was always with everything that he did. So, in so the program has grown. We started with about 125 players. Now we're over 200, and we meet on the weekends from May until November. So we have a drop-in clinic, which is great. And Art also started a couple other things like a Labor Day tournament. And so anything that we could do to enhance the programs at Oak Hills and invite people to play was pretty much how we were trying to establish the tennis. And what Art also loved was that Oak Hills Park is hard-true courts, and they are the only public hard-true courts here in Norwalk outside of being a part of a country club. And so that's what he was trying to promote to, because it's a whole different surface than playing on your regular hard court tennis courts. So what we started to do before Art passed away, October of 2021, we were starting to fundraise to build a patio at the tennis site, which we were able to continue to do, in which we wanted to do in Art's honor. The patio was completed last summer, and we would like to honor Art by calling it Arthur's Court. And, it's a nice community involvement that we've, been able to put together to honor Art. So if anybody has any questions or let me know anything else that needs to be done to process this.
Mr.
forward.
Burnett. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Chairperson Smith. My question is related to, you mentioned the patio area. So are we naming just the patio, or are we naming the entire tennis facility after Art?
It was just the patio that we wanted to name, because we weren't thinking of changing Oak Hills Park to Arthur's Court. We were just wanted to name the patio and dedicate the patio in particular to him.
Should the request indicate that? It currently says naming the tennis facilities at Oak Hills Park in honor of Mr. Arthur Goldblatt. It doesn't specifically say the patio area. Is it? Well, help me, maybe Alan or Mr. Sowers. Is there a difference between the two?
I will correct that when we, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it. So what I'll do is I will correct that when we issue the public hearing notice. Since there's no action being taken tonight, it's really just setting up a public hearing. I will change that when we advertise it for a public hearing.
Okay, I mean, in my little write-up, what I had written is that we were requesting approval to name a recently built outdoor patio, which is now at Oak Hills Tennis Facility in the honor of Arthur Goldblatt.
Yeah, it does state that pretty clearly in the backup. So I think, like Alan said, we are not, approving an item. We're just moving this forward to a public hearing for our next meeting in January. And so I believe that language can be corrected at that time. If everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, I was just looking for clarification because the backup says patio. The item in front of us says tennis facility. So they should be one and the same, but I'm totally supportive either way.
Thank you. Ms. Ayers?
Thank you. Just have a point of clarification. I know when you came before us before, you talked maybe possibly about some type of not statue, but like a plaque or something that would also be on the patio. Is it the plan to continue with that?
Yes, we would like to have a little plaque in memory of Art that is going to be donated as part of, when we do have a memorial and a gathering, we would like to have a plaque there that states that, we're honoring Art Goldblatt and that it's from the Tennis Friends of Oak Hills.
Okay, is it any possible way, and I don't know, this is really a question, that you could work with, I know there is some new language, some guidelines that came out of Parks and Rec about statues, monuments, and memorials. Are we going to make sure that that aligns with that new guidance that came out of Parks and Rec? And this is totally for you, Denise, but that's for Alan and I guess Barbara as the chair of this committee.
I think that Mr. Sowers can weigh in.
Right.
He's with us. Are you there,
Yeah.
Robert? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can work with whomever to make sure that the language fits our policy. So if it's Denise or Alan, I can work with both.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, I see you at our meetings too, so
Mhm.
I'd be
Yeah.
happy to work with you, and I can send you over what we would like to write, and
Okay.
then you can approve it or change it or let me know what needs to
Okay.
happen.
I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else, Ms. Ayers?
No, that was all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I recall what the question was. There was some confusion around acceptance of statute and some revisions that had been made to the process by which we do these things. But the naming is pretty well spelled out in the ordinances, so I think we should be in good shape there. All right, any other questions? Okay, so I will call for a vote. Remember, what we're doing is we are moving the item to a public hearing for our January meeting, knowing that we are talking about the patio in the tennis area at Oak Hills. So all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Stowers, I don't know if you're staying on, but thank you. Okay.
Right.
Next, we have the school construction project update.
Yeah,
Good evening, everyone.
before we start that, I know this is not an agenda item. I just want to very briefly welcome Councilwoman Dunn to the meeting. And also, I just want to really quickly, I mean, in previous new land use committee, I spent probably half an hour or so go over what the committee does. But in light of this, I just want to very quickly, this basically land use and building management committee have basically three responsibility, which is under my office in a way. It's municipal building operation and maintenance. The second thing is building construction, municipal, including schools. The third responsibility is city property acquisition and disposition of city property. So those are the three fundamental things that come through this committee. And there are times the historic commission or police department may send stuff through this committee for approval. So another point, maybe me and you can get together and just go over some of the things that the intricacy in some of these things we do in terms of going through approval. So also Joanne, she's my lack of better word assistant. She's really a partner in crime kind of thing. So she's been with us for about 9 months. So she's here also helping us to staff the meeting in terms of managing the IT portion of the meeting. Okay. With that, I think let me introduce Jim Giuliano. So as I mentioned before, there's three components to what we do at this committee and my office. So one aspect is building construction, which includes all schools. So Jim is a consultant to us. He's been with us under contract for original 5 years and extended for some of the projects for another 2 years already. So with that, Jim, you can introduce yourself and go for a little update on all the school construction projects. Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Alan. Jim Giuliano. I'm the president of Construction Solutions Group. We were hired in 2017 for 4 projects that has changed a little bit and grown a little bit. We did, as Alan stated, after our initial 5-year contract was up, the city of Norwalk went back out to bid, and we were successful in being the low bid on the other projects such as Norwalk High School and Sono Elementary School. With me tonight, I have Dan Phillips, our project manager, who works very closely with Alan and Joanne. But I was going to give you a little bit of a history of the 3 projects that Dan is going to give you an update on. Dan's going to kind of give you the present tense. I'll give you the past. So I'm the ghost of construction past, and Dan will be the ghost of construction present. So the Cranberry project that is essentially it's complete. The the school has taken occupancy of Cranberry. We did finish the demolition of the existing school, and right now we're in the process of finishing up site work, which was a new drop-off loop road, parking, and new fields. So there's going to be a new softball field as well as a multi-purpose field, not a full-size soccer field, but I think one that meets youth level size for the middle area of the loop drive. And the Cranberry project came about by a renovation project or an addition that Cranberry wanted to get a cafeteria added on, as well as we wanted to add air conditioning to the project. After we did an initial study and did a cost estimate, it was about $17-18 million to do those projects. And it really didn't enhance the rest of the school. It was just really adding a cafeteria and some air conditioning. So we took a closer look at the school and really what was the best use of that money, and decided that, you know, a new school built on the same site as the existing school would probably be a better use of the town funds, even though it was more money. It just made sense to replace the old school with a brand new school. So we ended up designing a new school on the behind the existing school. And allocated $45 million for that process. And like I said, the school opened this summer. Students are in there, and we're finishing up the remaining site work now. The next school that and there's a picture of the parking lot, the parent drop-off loop, and those are the future fields. Thanks, Dan. Tennis court as well. So moving on to Norwalk High School. Norwalk High School actually started off as a $11.6 million renovation project. And there were three main components to that renovation project. They were a new culinary arts and lab and classroom, renovation of all the bathrooms within the high school, as well as some hazardous material abatement. Through some discussions with the state, you know, the school was kind of, you know, just didn't function well. There was a lot of problems with connectivity. There was a lot of problems with, you know, wireless, or I should say, internet access. And after some discussions with the state, even the state felt better that a new school would be probably the best thing to move forward with for a project, because they kind of knew that we were going to probably be coming back to them for smaller projects for an infinite amount of time. So initially, the state allocated $189 million for a new school, and the initial plans were to build the school within the same footprint of the existing school. So build and tear down, build and tear down, and build and tear down. After we went through that, and the design process and started on the estimating process, you know, we realized that roughly about $9 to $10 million was wasted on temporary facilities, temporary walls, temporary construction, and took another good hard look at what we were doing and decided that I think, you know, the best use of you know, these funds would be to build a new school on the existing football field, and then tear down the old school and replace the football field with a new stadium in the location of the existing school. So after some time in presentations with the city, it was decided to move forward in that direction. There was another allocation of money for the project from the state of $239 million. And the reimbursement rate as a result of the PTEC program, we were able to get an 80% reimbursement rate on this school, which at the time that we were allocated that 80% reimbursement rate, the normal reimbursement rate for a new school for the city of Norwalk was 23.32%. So it really made a lot of sense to move forward with this project. And then the
sorry, Jim. I just want a couple of minor things. One
Sure.
is that the state budget's approved is 239, and we still have available and locally another about $6.5 million which we are putting into the project, because the certain things in the project are not reimbursable by the state. By us taking out this number, it allows us to do more with the money the state provide us. So the last couple of years, the construction industry has been kind of crazy through COVID, and the prices and the supply chain issues and stuff have substantial cost increases industry wide. So we are putting that money in together with the $239 million for a total project cost kind of thing. So we are putting this funding in to give us better protection in terms of bidding process. And also this project, the way it's designed right now, is it really does not impact the education side of Norwalk High School. What it does impact is really outdoor athletic sports. A number of these sports are actually off-site already. But by doing this, we have to put the rest of the sports off-site. But we have been working with the athletic director, and we find solution to in terms of busing the kids to other locations and stuff, and including West Rock and McMahon for certain sports, to make sure that we don't reduce the participation by students. So we are scheduled to meet tomorrow with the school building advisory committee to go over some of this stuff, to update them. The project is currently out to bid. We expect the bids to come back early January, and then we'll go through the approval process back to this committee and the full Common Council. The process is going through by a process called construction management process. So the construction manager basically is almost like extension of the city. It's more a consultant than a contractor, and they will help us bid the project out to the trade contractor. That's where the required bidding comes in. So it's a very challenging and long process. So we've been doing this for more than 2-3 years now, kind of thing. And then construction is going to take, building construction is about a little more than 3 years, and it will take another about 1.5 years to finish to demolish the existing building thereafter, and then start the construction of the athletic facility, new facility. So totally, it's about 5 years of from beginning to end. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next project that we're going to talk about is the South Norwalk Elementary School, SONO. That project, thank you, Dan. That project actually started off as the new Columbus Magnet School located at Ely Park. We started to design a building at Ely Park. Unfortunately, we found out that there was a deed from the National Park Service as a result of money that was given to the town, to the city of Norwalk back in, I believe, the 70s to make Ely a park. There was an avenue for us to move forward if we found suitable property within the same neighborhood as Ely Park. Unfortunately, that was very difficult to do. So we put that project on hold for a number of years and started passively looking for property in the South Norwalk neighborhood. So after an extensive search, we identified the Hatch and Bailey site as a potential site for a new South Norwalk school. We approached Hatch and Bailey. They were interested in selling the property, so it was a friendly sale. We didn't have to go through any eminent domain activities. So the city of Norwalk ended up purchasing the property and began design. And I'll let Dan talk a little bit more about where we are in the process. But there was, now I lost my train of thought. There was something else I wanted to add to this, but currently, this is the first elementary school in 50 years to be located in the South Norwalk neighborhood. So the city and Board of Ed are very excited about this project to be able to provide a neighborhood school in the South Norwalk location and reduce, bus rides for many of the students there. It's going to be 682 students. You're looking at the renderings, the design of the building. And Dan, if you want to give a little update and kind of go backwards, give an update on Sono, and then you can go to Norwalk High School and Cranberry real quick. Cranberry should be easy.
Yep. So South Norwalk Elementary School, as Jim mentioned, the grant application for this project was submitted back in June of 2022. Since then, we've hired the design team, awarded a construction manager, and worked our way through the different phases of design. Most currently, the construction documents were completed on November 17th. From there, we completed another estimate for the project to confirm that we were still within budget, and those drawings were finalized, sent up to the state for review. And the next step is to meet with the state for a pre-bid conformance review meeting. That's scheduled for tomorrow, the 7th. From there, usually takes about a week or so for them to sort through all of the documents, ask any questions, receive any clarifications, and then we would receive an approval from them to go out to bid. And the plan is to get this project out to bid in late December, just before the holidays. From there, we expect to receive bids back. The construction manager will spend the month of January reviewing those bids, preparing a GMP, guaranteed maximum price agreement, and that would come forward for approval in the month of February. Construction is scheduled from there. Once that agreement is approved, construction manager will start to issue trade contracts. We expect to see some activity in very late February to beginning of March 2024. And the new school is planned to be completed for occupancy fall of 2025.
Dan, real quick,
Dan,
one
we have
thing.
a question. We have a question, Ms.
hand
Harris.
Thank you. I have a design question. Compared to some of the more recent designs that we have saw for other projects throughout the city, this one seems quite lackluster. Is this the final design, or is there any
This I can I'll jump into a couple images now, and maybe that will answer your question. This was an earlier rendering. It kind of showed, I wanted to show this one because it's a view of the entire building and kind of the massing, the shape of it. And then down below are a couple snapshots inside. But if we jump to a couple of these renderings, this would be the main entrance to the school. On the left, where you see the canopy, I think I can point it out. This canopy is the main entrance. On the right here, this is the entrance to the cafeteria. This would be the main, a rendering from the inside of the building, the main stair as you walk through that main entrance to the school. And that's really all I pulled for this meeting.
I again would like to reiterate my point. Compared to some of our more recent construction, this is quite lackluster. I can't even say it correctly. I think it's important that anything we do, we promote equality throughout the city, and that we make sure that we are building buildings that are all at the same standard. So I'm, even with the 3 pictures that you showed, I'm quite concerned with the lack of beauty and awe that these renderings have compared to some of our more recent constructions.
So Dan, these are not completely final renderings.
These are final
Comment.
renderings.
They're design
The
rendering,
project's gone to bid.
right?
These-
So
right.
it's not final.
Yeah. No, it is final. It's final in terms
Oh.
of this is what
They
we're
are
building.
final. Listen to what he said. This is what the building is going to look like.
Mhm.
They
Right.
are final because they go to the meeting tomorrow. If I heard correctly, they're having the meeting tomorrow. So this is what the building is going to look like.
Right.
I don't know anybody. Other people might not care or might not have an opinion, but I think it says something. It says something to people that look like me. It says something.
Mr. Freyer?
Yeah, I think that I understand what Nicole is saying, but I think that part of what we're looking at here is kind of a distortion of what we would actually see. This does not look, to me anyway, I'm not an architect, I'm not a designer, but this doesn't look terribly different than the description or the pictures of Norwalk High School for that matter. Different angles. I think also we're not looking at the inside, and I think one of the presentations we had seen early on was that the inside of the building was fairly distinct. And looking at the glass here in the front, and I think we had a conversation about that several months ago, where that was kind of innovative, and you don't see that too often. So I think it may be. I understand what Nicole is saying, but I think that maybe these are not the most favorable pictures from what I saw originally when we had a presentation on this. It seemed a lot more dramatic and very much in line with some of the other schools that we've seen recently.
But Jim,
Yeah.
you don't understand what I'm saying, because Norwalk High is a high school. Look at Cranberry. I'm sure they have the renderings. If you compare this building to Cranberry, it's a distinctly different type of style of building. This building looks warehouse-ish. It does not look like a center of education and growth. It looks like a warehouse. And
That's
that,
what I'm saying. Go
but
ahead.
that speaks to people. We have to be very mindful in these positions what we are giving people as a product. We need to be
Yes.
mindful. And this is very boxy. There's no curve. There's no, it's very boxy. It's very warehouse, as I said, compare that to Jefferson. Compare that to Cranberry. There is a distinctly different style in this building. But I think Alan or one of the consultants said, we can't change it. This is the building. I just don't think we have done our best in this design.
I understand what you're saying, Nicole. And if I look at this, I think the first picture where we see the big box spread out, over a piece of the land is certainly not very exciting looking. But the picture that we see here starts to give me a little bit more excitement about what the rest of the building is going to look like. And I think what we also, I think, had mentioned at one time is what is the rest of the area look like? Do you want it completely distinctively different? Some of the other schools that we talked about, like Jefferson, we had a school there and it's been added on to. That's not a brand new school that we see today. So I think that I understand what you're saying. I truly do. But I think that this picture that we're seeing doesn't give the full effect of what we're trying to get, or what the architects are trying to show us. That's just my opinion.
If I can just add in, I was not on this committee, on the South Norwalk School Project Committee. I know that our current president, Darlene Young, was on that committee and involved in these decisions, as was the prior chair of this committee, Tom Livingston. So I think that, I can't speak for that committee because I wasn't on it, but I hear what you're saying, Ms. Ayers, and I think it's something that moving forward we can look at. And I don't know what, if there's, and the only other thing I want to say is I know that, when I initially looked at the renderings, just like this, right, in a committee meeting, the renderings for Cranberry School certainly didn't look as dramatic as Cranberry School does, right, the finished product. So I don't know that sometimes the renderings don't really show. And I think that's, getting to Mr. Freier's point, but I think, it's a really important point that you bring up, Ms. Ayers. And I think it just, we can, I think these are discussions that probably need to continue offline. Mr. Freier.
I'm
Could-
sorry,
Could
Chair.
I suggest that maybe what we do is get more renderings from different angles,
Mhm.
and also particularly from the inside, because I do recall that we talked along with Norwalk High School about the drama of what it's going to look like on the inside. That's going to be really dramatic, very, very much a departure from any other schools that we've seen. So maybe to put Ms. Ayers' concerns, or to satisfy a little bit of our concerns, is that maybe we get additional renderings that might show from different angles and interior shots and so forth, that might allay some of our fears.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, go ahead, Ms. Ayers, you want to add something?
I just had a question on what you said, Chair. You said continue the conversation offline. Offline with whom?
Oh, with the design team and the Norwalk School Project team,
So are you,
those who were making the decisions.
so are you as the chair of this committee going to spearhead that conversation? Just for a point of clarity.
Sure, I'm happy to, we'll talk, and I think that we can come back with some information at our next meeting. Can I just ask, does anyone, Mr. Lowe, Mr. Giuliano, anyone want to add anything?
I just want to add that when we look at designing different school, different location, we look at the site and everything else to look at the design. On Cranberry, because it's more wooded, it's more like the selection of colors and materials, a little more naturalistic. On this building, the architects took the lead from the South Norwalk as a community and an urban area with a lot of bricks and building. So that's why they select the style that's kind of complement what the South Norwalk community looks like. So if you see some of the new building and going up in South Norwalk, they're similar in style and architecture. They're modern, but at the same time, they take the vocabulary of design, architecture vocabulary from traditional 1920s, 30s, whatever may be, kind of styling or building kind of thing. This is kind of to be somewhat kind of calling out the architecture style of the community. That's why it's styled like this. In terms of the question about squares or rectangles and stuff, no curves and stuff. In fact, one of the things we don't do is actually curve. The reason being, it adds a lot of cost to construction. Curve building doesn't function well, and also the construction of it is much more difficult. So when we look at Cranberry, they all boxes very similar to this. Just whether the treatment, the little projection out, massing of the building, all that play into the architecture. Again, in terms of styling, this is more of the South Norwalk kind of semi-industrial look kind of thing. So it would be that's what it's kind of from.
Mm.
I swear to you guys, I did not plan to talk tonight, but I just have to address something you said, Mr. Lowe. The community has been very vocal, and we as elected officials must listen to the community about this particular location, Hatch and Bailey. I am very familiar with the buildings that are surrounding this particular property. But as a parent, you don't want your school. A school is really an anchor for a community and for a neighborhood. A school is an anchor. You do not want your school to look industrial. I understand. I know what's around that. I'm very familiar with the buildings and the location of where we're putting this school. No parent wants their child to go to a school that is inspired by concrete and brick that looks like this. You answered the question that no, we really can't. This is, we paid for the renderings. This is what the renderings are. I don't know. It could be a simple fix as adding more greenery. It could be something as small as that. It could be a simple fix of different looking windows. I don't know. But what I'm saying to you is this rendering that we are seeing, and this is the first time that I'm seeing this rendering on the committee level. This rendering that we're seeing is not as good as Norwalk can do. It's not our best. And I'm saying because this community has waited so long for this school that we should be giving them the very best. And I believe that this team can do better than what has been presented today. That is all I'm saying. But no parent we understand that's an industrial area, but that's not what you want for a school feel. And a school is an anchoring of the community. And we need to be mindful because that community in that area has been very vocal about this school and what they need from this school and how important this school is. And people do not want to be priced out of their homes or moved out of their homes because this school is coming here. They want that school to be a viable part of their community. And we need to be listening to those people who reside in that community now in order to determine some of the factors of what this building is going to look like.
Nicole, thank you for your comments and for bringing that to our attention. One thing I do want to add is there were a lot of talks among the Common Council in this committee and in other meetings that we feel so strongly that it is incumbent upon us to do everything we can to, as a city, as a council, to make this the best school it can be, to make the area around it the safest and most community oriented that it can be. I know that, the Public Works Department is involved in improvements around the area. Transportation, Mobility, and Parking is working on some, the traffic and walkability and safety issues. So, I just think, thanks for bringing this to our attention. I think we, continue, like I said, doing a little research offline, and then we come back and we can talk about it again next month, if everyone's okay with that. Okay. Dan, you want to move on?
Yep. And just before I jump to Norwalk High School, I just want to add to Jim's point about it's a single snapshot of the building. We do have renderings from a number of different angles, and we'd be happy to share those or set something up with the design team if that's desired.
Can I just say something about that? I on some level, I do agree with Nicole that looking industrial for an elementary school is very different than looking industrial for a high school. And as much as possible as we could bring some kind of joy to it and not feel like we're creating a factory system as a teacher, churning out students is not really a great look for any of us. So if there's any way to add some joy to it a little bit more, it would be great.
Thank you for that comment.
Okay, so quickly, Norwalk High School P-TECH update. The construction documents for this project were completed in September. In October, we met with the state for our pre-bid conformance review meeting. We received our approval to go out to bid on November 4th. So since then, the project was put out to public bid on November 20th. The current bid due date is January 4th of next year. From there, the construction manager, it's kind of, as you know, it sounds we're following a similar schedule to South Norwalk at this point. But in January, the construction manager will review those bids and prepare a GMP for the project. And that's what will be put forward in the month of February for approval. And just kind of to explain the different phases of the project in a little more detail with dates than Jim did earlier, there are 2 phases to the project. So first phase, we're planning to begin in late February, beginning of March, once the GMP is approved and trade contractor contracts are issued. This phase includes the construction of the new school, which is planned for occupancy in fall of 2027. From there, we kind of flip-flop the Norwalk High School campus for phase 2, which is going to begin in summer of 2027 before the students return to the new school, where we will begin the demolition of the existing school, constructing the main parking lot that in the image right above here, you kind of see in front of the school, the football field, track and stadium area, tennis courts, and the field house, and that will all be completed by November of 2028. So even though the school will be operational and occupied in fall of 2027, it's not until late fall of 2028 that the entire project is complete. And I'll jump to kind of a couple of images that I selected for this project, just to kind of give you an idea what the design is. As you can see in this image, the lower kind of star-shaped building, this is the new school. The existing school runs across the proposed main parking lot. And from here, you see that there's a multi-use field to the left, tennis courts to the right, and then the football field stadium area at the top of the drawing. Here's a view from the main parking lot. To the left here, this is the Norwalk High School wing. To the right is the P-Tech wing. And then in the center is the main entrance with the media center right above it. Off to this side is the school bus drop-off. You can see in the background here, there's an entrance, and that leads right into the common area of the school, right at the center. And this would be the rear of the building along King Street. It's shown here without vegetation and fencing and other items that would be put in place, but based on community feedback, we understand the importance of that. So it will not be this visible from King Street, but this rendering is intended to show the design of the building. And that's the last image we have here for Norwalk High School. And just to recap, the bus drop-off was over on this side to the left of the building, and the rear here is the last image I showed. And you can see from this picture, it is screened with vegetation along King Street. Any questions?
Nope, doesn't look like.
I think we more or less covered the Cranberry update, but real quick kind of recap of what Jim said earlier. The school has been occupied since August of this year. After the building was occupied, they demolished the existing building and began to prepare for the new parking lot and field. And that parking lot was completed December 18th. And currently the construction manager is spreading topsoil, placing clay on the infield, and installing fencing around that area. And the field will be seeded and completed in 2024. And here's just the images again. I think that does it for our construction update.
Thank you. Okay, let us move on. Thanks for your time, Dan and Jim. Next, item 1 is Land Use and Building Management Committee acting as the state-recognized Norwalk School Building Committee to review and approve construction documents for the new South Norwalk School project to be submitted to the state for approval to proceed with public bidding. Common Council action is not required. Said action shall be as follows. Authorize the chairperson of the Norwalk Land Use and Building Management Committee, acting in their capacity as the City of Norwalk's designated school building committee, to certify the Land Use and Building Management Committee's approval of the final plans, specifications, and cost estimate for the new South Norwalk Elementary School project, State Project 103-026N. Do I have a motion, please? Okay, Mr. Freyer moves that. Alan, do you want to just describe what we're doing here? We are
Yeah,
just
I think maybe I'm sorry, Dan, if you could go through the what's being asked of the committee.
So, making sure I'm not muted. So what we're asking the committee is to approve the final plans, specifications, and the cost estimate for the South Norwalk Elementary School. This step is required to move forward with the approvals in the state, and from there, that will allow us to receive the state approval to proceed with bidding and go out to bid later this month.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Chair Smith. How does this motion take into account the discussion that was just had, raised by Councilmember Ayers, as it relates to the look and feel of the South Norwalk School? If we vote in the affirmative for this item, basically the concerns that she just raised will not be addressed at all. Is that correct?
Being very straightforward, yes. We started the design like maybe a year and a half ago. This came to the committee at least twice for review in different stages, and the design had been shown to the committee previously. So it's we probably spend $1 million plus in the design process. So any changes, major change in the design will put us back a year and a half until we're designing the building. So it's not the first time we brought this design to the committee. We went to Board of Education as well. So it's been published. The way that there's been many discussion about what the architect go through the design process. We met on it, and again, it's been presented to this committee a schematic design phase and a design development phase, and I think as recently as probably like maybe 2-3 months ago. So it's very difficult conversation to have because I think when the architect look at design, they look at what elements they want to take from the community and the style of architecture, and it's again, I don't think we have the time and ability and financial ability to delay the process, because if we don't get to the state tomorrow, I think the problem then, if you really want to consider redesign it, I think we got to put this project off about a year, at least a year from now.
Go ahead. Do you have further questions or comments?
Yes. I mean, we may not be in a position to totally redesign the building, and I clearly understand that, but the comment that was raised that there might be some enhancements that might be done, whether it's the exterior greenery or something to make the building more attractive. So my concern is, again, by voting on this item tonight, the discussion, the comment that was raised by the chair to have an offline discussion about some level of enhancements that could be done pretty much goes out the window with this vote. So how are we handling this? How are we addressing the concerns that were just raised if we vote in the affirmative on this item tonight? That means it goes forward as is, and there is no offline discussion. There is no enhancements, unless there's some suggestions of what could possibly be done to address the concerns that were just raised?
I mean, one of the things that we can do, perhaps, as Jim had mentioned, we had selected one view of the building. I don't know, Dan, if you have at your fingertips any other renderings or any other views of the building that we might be able to alleviate some of the concern.
Yes, I do have a design presentation from the looks like October. I can share and we can kind of flip through a couple of images. And like I said earlier, the one that was selected is just a single snapshot. Maybe these renderings will put some of the concerns at rest. If not, we'll have to take that up. But I'm happy to share that now and give you a little more insight.
Yeah, why don't you do that? It might, again, it might give us a different perspective.
Okay, so I'll just preface this with I wasn't planning to share this, so we have I'll just make sure this was an update to the rendering. So there's a previous and new. So I'll just show what we're showing currently, and I'll skip right over the previous slides if I'll jump over those. So this is the main entrance to the school, the front canopy, and this is the center main hallway that I showed you a rendering of before, and we'll see again in this presentation. Off to the right is the entrance to the cafeteria. I don't believe this presentation has a site plan, but you can kind of see it here. This is the drop-off driveway. It comes around the main parking lot, and that's where the students would get dropped off, enter into the main entrance of the school. So it's previous, new. This is the image I grabbed for the presentation. So we'll jump. Again, this is the cafeteria entrance, corridor above, main entrance over here. And this is the parent drop-off. This is the rear of the school. Unfortunately, I don't have a site plan to kind of give you the orientation, but this is the opposite of the main entrance. There's an exit from the cafeteria, an exit from a stairwell, and then there's access from the side of the building. This rear area will have a playground at one end, a playground at the other end, and then there's, as you may be familiar with the site, from this point, it pretty much goes straight uphill. There will be an access walkway that gets up to the top of the hill where there will be a multi-use play field. This is another view of the rear of the building. Again, this isn't a perfect representation because the playgrounds, the outdoor learning spaces are not shown in this rendering. It was intended to show the shape of the building, the finishes, and get a feel for the building more so than the site. Here is a floor plan. This is the first floor, and just to kind of orientate you with some of the other images. This was the main entrance at the bottom. Again, off to the right is the entrance to the cafeteria. Those images we just looked at with the colorful framing to the windows. These are the pre-K and kindergarten classrooms in the rear. And that's where that image was taken from. Again, this is that main corridor as you enter through the entrance to the building. There's stairs, there's kind of a bleacher setup for education, presentations. And this is actually, my apologies, the previous. So this is the current design for that corridor. Make sure I jump over the previous. So another angle of that corridor, the stairs. That's the main stair with lighting around the entire top. And as you may recall, there's that above the main entrance is south facing. So that's all glass, and a lot of natural light will make its way into the center core of the building. As we get upstairs, here's that glass overlooking the main parking lot. Here's an opening, colorful walls, a couple different, in the core of the building, there's different spaces, whether it's offices, media, and other uses. Another image of that stair. And here's kind of now an image looking into the multi-purpose room at the center of the building on the second floor. Here's the multi-purpose room. And next image will show the gym and cafeteria, and you might be able to see it here, but this is a accordion wall that opens and closes. So that allows for larger events with the stage on this side of the gym that can be opened up and expanded into the cafeteria. Being an elementary school gym, it's not the largest, but that allows extra capacity and viewing for events. And that would remain closed for cafeteria and gym classes during the day, but an option to open it. Here is the second floor. This is one of the breakout learning spaces in the corridors. There's glazing looking down into the media space. Another angle, or actually, we're on the other end of the school. So this is looking down into the gym. And those are the other renderings that I had at my fingertips to share.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, we have seen these renderings in previous land use and building management meetings. I think that, I know that when I first saw that front entrance, and I think that maybe that was probably the first rendering you should have shown us, Dan, is that front entrance, because that's really, I think, quite lovely. The side view is not so lovely. Given that we have such a time constraint, Ms. Ayers, I'd just like to hear if you feel a little bit better about seeing this rendering, the front entrance. With the idea of some additional plantings and things.
It didn't want to get off mute. I do apologize for the delay. No, this does not ease me. It looks like the platform, which are South Norwalk apartments, luxury apartments that people that live in South Norwalk can't afford. No, these renderings do not make me feel better. I have a procedural question as a follow-up from what Council person Burnett asked. So if I'm understanding the process, you're saying that we can't make any alterations to this building because it has to go to the state tomorrow to be approved. And if we make any alterations to this building, it will not be approved. I have a problem with that because we made alterations to Norwalk High and those plans got approved. And we made alterations to Norwalk High after those plans got approved, because we've had an extensive conversation in this committee about the placement of solar panels. Sometimes they were going to be in the parklet, sometimes they were going to be on top of the roof. But when we looked at the renderings initially, and when we went to the city with those renderings, there were no solar panels. So I'm quite confused, I think, when the language is put out into the community or in this committee that we can't make any alterations. I'm not clear about that.
Jim or Alan, someone talk about the solar panels.
The Norwalk High School was approved in the end of October, beginning of November. Dan, I'm not sure if you have the exact date.
Yeah, we met with the state in October, and then approval was received on November 4th.
So in terms of making changes to Norwalk High School, that didn't happen. We did go to the state just recently, got the approval, and we're moving forward with what was presented to the state and what was presented to this committee from as far as I understand. In terms of the solar panels, in certain situations, we did not show solar panels in renderings, so in order to have better clarity of the building itself. Otherwise, if we left the solar panels in on certain elevations or certain renderings, all you would see are solar panels. Those were always in the project. We just elected to leave them off on certain renderings so that way you could see the building. Because if we left them in and we did a rendering from the parking lot, you wouldn't see the building. But yeah, in terms of the process, you know, we did the same process with the high school as we're doing with this school as we did with Cranberry. And you know, just to reiterate what Alan Lowe stated, you know, we try to stay as much as we can, you know, and sometimes we're not able to do it, but we try to stay away from angles and curves because they're not very conducive to good space utilization. Plus curves, you know, are very expensive to incorporate into a construction project. And none of you know, the projects that we've done to date, you know, Jefferson, I think Mr. Burnett stated, you know, or Mr. Somebody else stated, you know, Jefferson was what they call a renovate as new. So we renovated the project within the confines of the existing exterior walls. There was a gymnasium added, but then again, you know, it was very rectilinear because it's a gymnasium, but it's also the most efficient way to build a building. You know, and you know, any projects going forward typically are very rectilinear because they're efficient for space utilization on the interior of the building, but also efficient and cost effective to build.
Can I ask, can someone talk about the meetings that were held? I know my understanding, you know, again, I was not on this this committee. I know Ms. Young was, I believe Ms. Revolus, and I know that my understanding is there was a lot of community discussion with the District B representatives. Can someone talk about that community outreach and that process?
Madam Chair, my hand was we were not.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Nicole.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We were not finished.
Go ahead.
I appreciate the consultants bringing up the other projects, but I have to say this. Even if it's a square, it should be the best square we can give somebody. That what I have currently seen, those renderings, I've seen you guys do better work. I really have. I've seen you give better work. Those renderings do not bring anybody, at least it does not give me any ease. It does not speak creativity or a place of learning for anybody. It looks like a downtown area. It doesn't look like a school. It doesn't have a feel of a school. So I'm just going to say this, and you can continue with the chairperson's questions or whatever. If we're voting on tonight, which I think that's what's on the floor, for us to vote for this body to be the committee for land use of this particular project, I'm not in support of it. Not because I'm not in support of the project, but I know that you guys can do better work because I've seen you do better work. And I just don't think that we are giving the best product to this neighborhood, to this community who has been waiting so long. And to say that we can't make any changes, that doesn't sit well with me. So these are taxpayer money that we're spending. And yes, we want to be good stewards of what we are given, but we also want to give a good product. So that's all I want to say. I will not be in support of sending this to the state in this state. I am in support of the project, but not these renderings. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, so you know, I'd just like to hear more, you know, so we can talk publicly about the process. You know, I know that there were multiple meetings, multiple public meetings, and that these designs were presented in several meetings, you know, several meetings, including here. So can someone who was involved in those meetings comment?
I'm sorry, Jim has his hand up, so. that's
Yeah,
why.
okay, go ahead, Jim.
I wasn't at all the meetings. I only joined the committee last July, but I do recall looking at these designs quite carefully, and I thought everybody at the meeting, all the participants of that meeting, were very much in favor, very impressed with it. Having said that, can and maybe this is a question for Alan, but how many, what kind of a delay, what kind of a cost are we looking at if we don't submit these drawings for approval? You threw out a delay of possibly a year. Is that realistic? And then what would be the cost of changing this design at this particular point, in addition to what the time frame that we lose would be?
I think the question, I'm sorry, the discussion and comment here is this. When we submit a package to the state, that we submit for each school project, we submit to state at different occasions. So that initially, like a year ago, 9 months.
Excuse me, Alan, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but our council president, Darlene Young, is in the attendance. And if we could just move her over,
Sure.
and because she was so involved, and as a representative of District B, I think it's important she weigh in here. So if we could, unless anyone has any objection, I would like to bring her in because I think her voice is going to be really important here.
I have just done so.
Okay. Ms. Young, Council President Young, thank you for joining us. We're just to catch you up, we are on a deadline here in terms of moving the design to the state. It needs in that regard, of the South Norwalk School, in that regard, it needs approval tonight in order to meet the deadline for the state. Ms. Ayers has brought up some concerns about the design of the building. And so what I was hoping is you could, address the process, address the community input, and, how we could, can we move this forward somehow?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I don't know, Duan's hand's up. I don't know if his hand was up before I came on or what, but
Yeah,
see the rendering, that would be helpful.
yeah.
We were just looking at it,
Yeah, I can pull something back
but
up.
yeah, we'll bring it up again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, and you know what, we can make note that Mr. Wiggins joined us. Actually, I'm only seeing you now at 8:16, Dewan. I'm not sure what time you actually joined, but
I was on about 7:15.
7:15. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to rename my
Okay.
I don't know how to rename it.
Okay, there you go, Ms. Young.
Mhm. Okay, so what were the concerns?
Nicole?
Good evening. I stated that this building, for me, looked very warehouse-ish, that it did not promote a place of education. This school is going to be an anchor of that neighborhood. And I thought that because I have seen the work of the design team in other projects, that this was not hitting the mark. I believe my colleague, Councilperson Heather, stated that the building was lack of joy. There was no joy for this to be an elementary school. It is very cityscape looking, not like an elementary school. And I don't think that, I think that we need to really do better. I believe Mr. Allen Lowe said, well, they were trying to make it fit into the neighborhood and it's an industrial neighborhood. My point to that was no parent wants their elementary school child, to go to an industrial looking school. I don't know what time you joined, but as they were going through the rendering, the back of the school has beautiful, vibrant colors. You don't really see that. You do see some more trees here, but we were told, if I'm understanding correctly, that this is being submitted to the state tomorrow and that we have no say of any corrections or alterations that we want to make to these renderings because it has to go to the state. So my position is, because I've seen the work of this design team and I know that they could produce better, that I would not vote for this committee being the land use committee for this particular project without any alterations. Prior to us going to a vote, the chairperson, Barbara Smith, said she would have a conversation offline about it to try to see if they could make any improvements. But our understanding as a committee is that once it goes to the city, we can't make any improvements. So again, I am in favor of the project. I am not in favor for the renderings. So that's why I cannot vote for it to go to the state.
Okay.
So can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, Mr. Wiggins.
So with the design, I know someone asked earlier, like, what would be the timeline if we, push it back? So would it be a year? Would it back it up a year?
I'm sorry, before I answer the question, I see Councilwoman Dunn has a question, so I can answer all of them together.
I think what, sorry, might be helpful is what we're sending to the state is the overall design, and I kind of understand that, but is it possible, I think part of it is looking at the back of it, there are a lot of colors. Is it possible to change the palette? We have like this bright yellow, which is nice, but then we have this mossy green and kind of muddy colors. Does it change anything if there's any update to the palette of some of the fascia or overhangs being, brighter, consistent with what the inside looks like, to bring that palette outside?
Right.
Does that change anything? Could we approve it and then, make some color changes?
Sure. Let me answer these questions. As you know, I've always been pretty straightforward. So when you ask me a question, like, can we change things? Yes, we can change things. No, we cannot change things. The way the building design, if you want to change the design of the building to, let's make it up here. Let's just say I don't know, metal building, metal sheeting building on the outside, or you want to be a concrete building. That would take the project back to generally speaking, back to the beginning, because the building is designed, structurally designed, everything's all designed, the type of exterior wall is designed. But you want to change the color of the brick, you want to change like this canopy, instead of pitching out like this or yellow, you change a different color, even a trim color. That's not a problem, right? The state doesn't look at it as a oh, you change the color of the building, or the window is a little smaller or bigger, whatever it is. But generally speaking, the shape of the building, we can't change the building to a circular shape because it changes the whole design structurally and everything else. So we really starting from the beginning. Except the programming side, you actually redesign the whole building. But if we want to change potentially, like, again, it's a green and brick, a brick color building. You want to change the color of the brick. That's not a problem. We can change things. But in terms of styling of the building, in terms of like, okay, I wanted to metal panel. Well, then it's a substantial change, and we have to stop the process, kind of thing. So again, putting more trees or putting more different colors on the building, that's not a problem. So when I say that we can't change it, means we structurally and the way the building design is not changing, but the fenestration could change, right? To the question is, how long does it, if you want to change to a totally different style of building, kind of thing.
I have one more question. So along with color palette and stuff like that, I mean, there's things that I understand the structure, but like wayfinding signage, none of that's on there, other than I did see you put the title of the school over the overhang.
Yeah.
Is there any of that's, I know, like when a building's done, afterwards they come back and ask for, like signage.
Yeah, there's signage package for interior of the building. And I think this is earlier rendering. Today's standards, we do not put name of the building on the building anymore, because school has tendency to change the name. Sometimes, like, they change the name to magnet school, or if the way thing. So we actually not putting names on a building anymore because because school education, like board of education, have a tendency to change programming and stuff for the building, and they want to change the name. So do an outside building is very difficult on the building because you put holes in the building, put signage. So what we do is the ground signs. That's what we're doing in terms of naming the building. Norwalk High School, similar. Originally, we had thought about calling P-Tech and Norwalk High School, but it get a little complicated, and also any changes, like it's much more difficult.
I guess it's, I'm not asking for specifics. It's just when the difference between a rendering and what it might look like, sending it to the state for, what it is structurally. I'm just wondering if they're, again, kind of touching on it. It sounds like kind of what Nicole's saying is, are there ways to really zhuzh it up a little bit more that don't impact our approval for sending it to the state?
Oh, I want to jump in a little bit. So I'm hearing everybody's concern. So we even changed the color, I believe. We even added some color and took down some trim and softened it up because the colors prior looked more industrial. So to some extent, doing this is good. Now, if the color's on the back, if we can bring more color, that's definitely a much better improvement. I'm all for some color. So it went from I don't know what color we had that building was before we made some changes and added some color to it, but it was much more gloomy and not as bright even. And so we tried to make those changes. So if Nicole, you think the brightness on the back should come on the front, I think that's something that can be done. Sounds like without holding up the project, but we did make some improvements. It didn't look as nice as it looked now. And if you've got some concerns with that, I think the color would help. But to hold this project up, I don't think that that's in the best interest of the city or the community at this point. But changing the brick, adding some color, I'm for that. I think there'll be more trees. We've talked about all those things. It's going to be nicer looking. So I think I'm okay with that. I hope you all are.
Thank you, Ms. Young. I mean, that's essentially what I was thinking that we would, when I initially made that recommendation, that we talk about some of these things that we can do offline and moving forward. But I'm really appreciative that you were able to join us, Council President Young, to share that perspective. And incidentally, we have Council Member Najelski Eichner in the attendees who would like to also join the meeting. So if we could move her over as well. Yeah, I mean, the concern about holding this project off for an entire year when the community really needs this school, so much effort has been put into to getting us to this point is concerning. And then, of course, cost estimates are going to go up if we hold it off another year, and possibly significantly. So,
but I still don't think did anyone. So, is it a year? Because I asked the question. I don't think.
Yeah, go ahead, Alan. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I work for the Common Council, so I'm not trying to. I can't want to say to this committee and the council member. It's just again a staff to the committee. So I'm not trying to exaggerate anything and kind of blow this thing out of proportion. If we don't go for state approval tomorrow and the intent is to change the design to like totally different kind of thing, we actually go back in terms of process, in terms of construction design. Without exaggeration, it's probably a year, okay? And right now we probably spent, I would say, about $1 million for already in preparing this or more to get to this point. So it's not a simple thing to do. I mean, when you talk about approving the construction document, those documents, I mean, Dan, it's like books like these high, and drawings. How many pages of drawings that they prepare already? So it's about a year's worth of work to redesign the building. The other piece is that, again, I'm not trying to exaggerate. I'm not trying to kind of influence your thinking. The bottom line is we're carrying about 5% increase per year in construction costs. A year for construction cost. This project is $76 million, including land acquisition. Construction costs about $50 million plus. So $50 million at 5%, you could go like what, $2.5 million a year. So there's financial and time kind of aspect of this project when we want to step back that far. But again, in terms of adding colors, adding changing some of this material and all that, it is feasible, it is possible. But I think one of the things we can do, as Councilwoman Smith said, we can talk online, or we can have to, I can set another meeting with a member of the Common Council interested in knowing more about this. We bring the architect in and we start throwing some ideas around how we can further improve the facade to be more appropriate for elementary school. So there has to be a lot of conversation about how much of a neighborhood or industrial look of the community we want to incorporate this building, and how much playfulness we want to put into the building. So finding the balance is what we need to do. We did talk about this many times. So sometimes like you don't want to do playful, because sometimes the education strategy and idea changes through time. What works for one building now may not work for the building. The color palettes and other things changes as time goes by. So we actually talk about those stuff. So what works and what doesn't work, kind of thing. So again, this is architecture and design. We all have our own interests and history and background to feel what we like and don't like. But saying that, I recognize what Councilwoman Ayers says about, it looks industrial because it is industrial looking. It's taking from the vocabulary of the neighborhood, but at the same time, is it appropriate for a school? It's somewhat subjective. It's not, again, it's something that the architect look at and feel that that's an element they want to introduce in the building, exterior building, but at the same time try to be playful. So they try to do that in the back a little bit of the building, but we can bring that to the front a little more, kind of thing. So there's balance of things we can do to improve it. So back to the question, can we change things? Yes and no. We cannot change them. The basic design of the building, but can we improve it for aesthetic, various different things we can do? Yes, we could. I want to stop. So
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Burnett.
Chair Smith, I just want to remind you that process-wise, we now have 8 members of the council on the call, which takes us from a committee meeting to a council meeting. So that's a majority. We can't do that.
They won't be voting. And, we are able to have other council members join. I felt it was important that our council president join this meeting and give her perspective, but neither one of them will be voting.
Council Chairperson Smith, I have a question.
Sure.
I never asked for y'all to knock the building down and rebuild it. I guess that's a statement. That was not my ask. My ask was, could you take what you have and soften it up and make it less warehouse looking? That was my ask. So this narrative that people keep saying about redoing the design, that never was the ask. I never asked anybody to redo the design. I asked, could this design be improved? And I want to go on record in saying that. I'm asking for an improvement in the design. I'm not asking for the design to be redone, because I understand that takes resources, money, etc. Number one. Number two, when I made the statement about circular or line, I was just making a statement. Everyone does not have to keep reiterating it can't be a circular building. I never asked for a circular building. I asked a general question. If someone could tell me, the architect, the design, that if they're sending this proposal to the state tomorrow, but it is okay for us to make some cosmetic changes to that building, then I will vote for it. But if you're telling me that there is no cosmetics that can be done to that building, then I'm not going to vote on it. And that's just where I am. But I really think we should do the order of the day, which is calling for the vote, because we have tarried about this question far too long.
Okay. So we know that we won't be making I mean, we can't, right? So we can move forward with the vote, knowing that we can make some cosmetic changes where, you know, we have some more color and some more plantings and things like that. So are there any further comments or questions before I call for the vote?
So we can make some cosmetic changes, like in the sense of color. We can
Yes.
change color.
Mhm.
All right. Alan.
Alan, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so, you know what I'll do? Thank you, Nicole. I mean, thank you for the clarification. Yes, what I'll do is I will say a meeting within the next next couple of weeks to get together with the architect so we can have a discussion about what we want to look at and what additional thing we want to incorporate in design as enhancement to the aesthetic, general aesthetic of the building. Jim, you deal with the state, so not just coming from me. So you deal with the state regularly. What's being requested in terms of enhancement on the facade and the treatment, some of the facade. I know that's not an issue. I just want you to confirm whether it is or not, kind of thing.
No, it shouldn't be, Alan. I mean, you know, before we, you know, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to change. I think we will have an opportunity to change colors, take a look at more of the aesthetics, you know, of the building rather than the structure of the building, and try to make some enhancements and, you know, as Ms. Ayers put, you know, soften it. We'll have those discussions with Tecton beginning tomorrow and ask them to present some recommendations for that.
Okay, thank you.
Art.
Are you, do you have further questions, Mr. Burnett?
Yes, my question is, do these proposed alterations incur an additional cost to the project, or do we feel these alterations can be absorbed within the current budget?
You know, I guess it depends on how, you know, how much it's enhanced, but you know, my knee-jerk reaction would be they should be able to get absorbed within the current budget.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Okay, so I am going to call for a vote among the members of the committee. If you are in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Mr. Wiggins, I didn't see your vote. Mr. Wiggins? Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So it passes unanimously. Thank you for addressing all of the concerns, and I'm glad we were able to move forward. Okay. Let's move on to item 2, review and recommend requests to apply for state school HVAC grants for Brian McMahon High School. Okay, wait, I have a lot to read here, so bear with me. For Brian McMahon High School, Brookside School, Marvin School, Silvermine School, Narramack School, and Rowayton School, and refer recommendation to the Common Council for approval. A, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brian McMahon High School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brian McMahon High School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at Brian McMahon High School. B, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brookside Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brookside Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for HVAC IAQ grant at the Brookside Elementary School. C, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Marvin Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Marvin Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Marvin Elementary School. D, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Silvermine Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee of the HVAC IAQ grant at the Silvermine Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Silvermine Elementary Schools. E, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply for the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Narragansett Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Narragansett Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Narragansett Elementary School. F, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Rowayton Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Rowayton Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC grant at the Rowayton Elementary School. Will someone please move that? Mr. Freyer moves it.
I did have, can I ask a question now?
Yes, of course. I mean, let me just say a couple of things. I would like Alan to talk about this as well, and certainly your questions. So, you know, the state does not normally reimburse for HVAC projects. And so this was a special state legislative action that allows for towns to apply for this grant at their current reimbursement rate, which for us is right now 60%. And so we are able to apply for these grants at that reimbursement rate. And so what we're doing here, and, you know, there's been, you know, discussions with our chief financial, Henry Dakowitz, as well as the chair of finance, Mr. Burnett, about a special appropriation to reserve these funds. And then, you know, as the grants are applied for, you know, if they move forward, the funds are used, and if they aren't, they don't get used. So with that, these are projects that will be done regardless. These are projects that were set out by the Norwalk Public Schools. So I want to turn it over to Alan. Did you want to ask your question first, Jim, or do you want to let Alan give some more background?
No, let Alan discuss it.
All right.
I think Barbara covered most of this already. I think it is a struggle even at staff level. It's a lot of money that we're asking for, but Board of Ed had identified these projects, and these are projects anticipated coming through the capital budget process in the next 5 years, kind of thing, for that replacing equipment. The state does not reimburse replacement or maintenance or replacement of existing equipment. So if you have a rooftop unit that's failed or a boiler that failed, they don't reimburse the city. But this grant that's available, it came out last year. The grant application is very complex, and they did not get a lot of, they did not approve many projects, so that's why it's available again. So we knew that was coming back this year, and they issued the grant application process started in September. But knowing that this was going to come out, we started actually back in May. We actually got to hire the mechanical consultant, went out for RP process, selected engineering consultant, hired them. They did the design. We hired an estimator, did the estimating. Concurrent. So in order for us to go to the city, the board of estimates and planning and zoning, eventually going to a finance committee tomorrow for special appropriation, because the state requires us to have a city share, which is 40% of each project. So each project is being submitted a separate application. So we would have to approve the money ahead of time to show that we have commitment of funding before we actually apply. So the deadline is upcoming in end of this month. Therefore, we found this process, and again, finance committee have a special meeting being held tomorrow. We went through BET, went through planning and zoning, and then next Tuesday, hopefully, if the finance committee supports this, there's 2 items being put on the Common Council agenda for next Tuesday. One is from this committee, recommending the application, submit an application to the state, and coming from the finance committee is approving the funds. Like Councilwoman says, it's like if the state most likely will not approve all 6 projects, right? So total, the city allocation funds is about $14 million, so it's substantial. And in a way, we are cutting in front of different projects in upcoming years. So it's so whatever project the state does not approve, this is my suggestion to the council that those money will just get deleted back out of the approval process or deleted, so that those projects will compete with other project that comes up for next capital year or the year after. So they wouldn't have a benefit of cutting in front, but yet you don't get the money now. They got some money, kind of thing. Also at 40%, we wouldn't be able to do those work anyway, because if the city is responsible 100% of the work, 40% doesn't get us anywhere anyway. So I think it's fair to put these projects back on the shelf along with other projects that are being submitted in future years. So that is my, I think that sums it up. And also, I think that's also a staff recommendation from a finance perspective.
Also, it's worth pointing out that this will next go to a special meeting of the Finance Committee. Mr. Burnett, am I correct that that'll be tomorrow at 6 o'clock?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Frayer, did you?
Yes, in part of the resolution, it says that the Board of Education can accept or reject the grant money. Is there any reason why they would reject it?
No, this is standard language that the state give us. I didn't make these languages strange. I don't understand it either. But that's what, on the grant application, those are actually very specific language they put in, and we have to approve as is. So there are times that the community may not accept it, whatever. Again, however silly it may be, when through the ages when these languages came about, that's what we are asked to do.
Okay, I figured it was something strange like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, let us take a vote on that. All in favor, please raise your hand. Looks unanimous. I'm waiting for Mr. Wiggins. Opposed? Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm moving slow.
Okay.
I'm trying.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that passes unanimously. All right. C, review actions required for the DECD grant for the proposed Norwalk Community Recreation Center at 98 South Main Street, and refer the following resolution to the Common Council for action. Whereas the state of Connecticut, through the Department of Economic and Community Development, is authorized to extend financial assistance to the city of Norwalk for the development of the proposed Norwalk Community Recreation Center at 98 South Main Street, and whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the city of Norwalk makes an application to the state for $1,200,000 in order to undertake the Norwalk Community Recreation Center Development Project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Norwalk, 1, that it is cognizant of the condition and prerequisites for the state financial assistance imposed by the State of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development, DECD, and 2, that the filing of an application for state financial assistance by the City of Norwalk in an amount not to exceed $1,200,000 is approved. And 3, that Harry W. Rilling, Mayor, City of Norwalk, is authorized to execute and file for such application with the Connecticut Department of Economic Development, DECD, to provide such additional information, to execute such other documents as may be required to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for financial assistance, if such as agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decision, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the City of Norwalk, including all documents relating to the implementation of the project. Will someone move that item, please? Mr. Burnett moves the item. This is, I'm going to let you take over here, Alan. This is a big project. There's grants coming from different places. This is one of them. So,
I know it's getting a little late, so I don't want to take too much time. I have a memo in the package. If you want additional information, just go through that when you have a chance. It's a project that goes on for a long time. Probably since the time let's go back to the Neon days, when Neon, when moved on, like a better word, and so the city went through a whole process to acquire the remaining share of the property, and we own the building for, I would say, probably 5-6 years now, kind of thing. And basically, the building is empty. We only one tenant in the building, which is Americare. One of the reasons why we don't fully occupy the building is because we've always been envisioning that this building be turned over, and we actually issued RFP about maybe 4 years ago, before COVID, RFP for the development of this building for community and community uses. And we have one proposal with YMCA, and we worked with them for probably a year and a half or so to go for approval, come up with an idea what we want to do with the building together. It was going to be a long-term lease and use relationship for like 30 years or something like that. But through COVID and construction costs and all, the relationship didn't work out. And it's mutually, we both parties walked away from this. And so now we continue the building. And recently, I would say about almost a year ago now, well, 9 months ago maybe, the idea of developing this building as a Norwalk Community Recreation Center came up for the utilization of the building. And since then, we did some really, really abstract design, pro bono kind of services and estimating. And we came out with a number around $10.5 million to do this building, which included a new addition to the building for a gym. And again, those are very rough numbers and design kind of thing. Right now, we have about $9.5 million. About $5.7 million is from the ARPA funding, 1.2 is from city funding, and 1.2 from the state. And there's also about a little less than $2 million potentially from HUD. The problem with the HUD money and the state money has always been allocated or requested by and allocated to the YMCA. With them not involving in the development side, both agencies, the HUD and the DEC, need to channel the money to the city instead. So this is what's in front of you tonight for the state money from DECD, because originally granted to the YMCA. So recently we got approval from the State Bonding Commission that the city would be the direct recipient of the money. As part of that, we need to technically apply because we never did. So that's what's in front of you. The project, we still need money. Robert is here to talk about it. If you have any questions, there's a whole bunch of information in the back of the package, but about how the building will be used and a whole bunch of things, information for you to look at. But Robert is here in case you have any question about it. And the goal is we are in the middle of the interview process for architect right now. We met today, and we're looking to do interview next week. And thereafter, we're going to hire the construction, look at RFP for construction manager. The goal is to have the building design, construction documents ready by probably August, latest by September. And then we go out to bid. And then thereafter, we have to award the project and get approval before end of December next year in order to comply with ARPA funding. ARPA funding a requirement, a deadline of end of December that we have to commit the money. It's about $5.4 million, so it's ARPA money. So I think I want to stop there because again, if you have any question about operating side and how the building is going to function and who is served, Robert's here to answer those questions from the programming side.
Mr. Wiggins, do you have a question?
Yeah, so just so I can understand, you said 10 million is what's needed and 7 million is what's raised?
No. Let me explain a little bit more. The estimate we got is $10.5 million, but then because where the gym is going to be located is the edge of Ryan Park. What we have to do is that there's contaminated soil on the ground. So it's estimated around $700,000 or so to do remediation, soil remediation. And potentially also because we are putting the building on the backside of the building, it's more than the footprint of the building that we got to work on because all the equipment and stuff. So we got a restoration of the site around it. And also the parking lot will most likely change because we got to change the drainage system in the parking lot. So again, the original number for the building renovation and new gym, it's about 10.5, where we got to add the cost of soil contamination and additional site work. We add it all together, we have right now about $9.5 million. So we probably need around $2.5 million. And based on a conversation between me and Robert, Robert is going to request money under Recreation Parks Department budget, capital budget, upcoming budget for $2.5 million. So that's our financial strategy.
Yeah, we are. We have submitted the capital budget with 2.5 million to bring this total to a budget that we can build this this community recreation center. For the I think for the I don't want to go too long because it is late, but for the just the benefit of the new members, I know most of you have heard a few times about the community center and what we're going to be, what the uses are. It's going to be a little different than what the Y had planned. The Y basically had planned what I call a community center, which means, there are different community organizations that actually become tenants. This is really going to be a community recreation center for families and children to have recreation, to have a place to exercise and enrichment programs, after school STEM programs, esports programs, music, the ability to learn music instruments, the ability to record. We have a recording studio. It's going to be a full-fledged recreation center, and with a gym, and with hours for families and tots, and then seniors, and also a place for after-school programs, and then of course evening, and eventually we want to team up with Human Services to do some at-risk prevention programs to keep our young people off the street. So it's going to be, we are teaming up. There is some element of the YMCA participation because of the $2 million that is going to them. So they are going to have an integrated program with us. We're going to have an integrated STEM program, and they're going to run the esports program. So we're going to work together. They're going to be almost a service provider for a few programs, but I'll stop right there. I'll stop right there.
Question, because one of my worries is that with this building coming, like how intentionally are we when it comes to hiring people from the community that live in these neighborhoods, and how, like, what is the strategy around bringing the community in, right? Because it sounds to me like it's going to be ran by the city, right? It's going to be ran by Parks and Recs, whatever departments. and when that typically happens, you know, the community don't have a lot of say, right? And when you think about the YMCA strategy, it was bringing communities in. It was bringing different organizations and communities in, which, you know, also highlight these different organizations. So, like, what are we doing to really, you know, assure that the community has say in it, but also, you know, we hiring from these communities, because we know that a lot of people can't live here because of, you know, rent and all these things. So how inclusive is it going to be?
Well, I come from a city where they have very, very successful community centers that have a lot of input from the community. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an advisory council, and the advisory council are going to work with the management of the community centers. The advisory council, a great deal of them will come from that community, and we will try and hire people that can relate to the people that will be using the building, particularly late night programs. So our intent is to try and hire from the community, but within our hiring procedures. But the advisory councils that I have established in the past, they're granted with authority to work with the management of the community center and the directors to bring input, to recommend programs, and so they will be a vital part of the management of the community center. Also, we plan on running these programs from Monday through Saturday, with Sunday devoted to community. We will have several community spaces for people who have birthday parties, weddings, whatever. So we can have a place in the community that people can rent and have their celebrations, their birthdays, whatever. So Sunday will be mostly devoted to that.
And would that be free? Would that be free? Those Sundays?
It won't be free. There'll be a rate scale that we will use, but it won't be completely free now. But meetings for nonprofits, they can schedule meetings in our multi-purpose rooms, and some of those will be free. So a lot of nonprofits don't have places to have retreats and that kind of thing, and this will allow that to happen.
I'm really thinking about when we talk about community centers, and I understand it could be overwhelming if we was allow it to be free, but I'm curious about how much that stuff would cost, because we got to think about where this is going to be, right? It's going to be in the heart of South Norwalk.
Understand.
And and we know the circumstances and what's happening in South Norwalk. So I hope we could be really intentional about, how we price this thing out and how we really get, individuals from this community engaged.
Yeah. Well, the programs and activities at the community center will be free. We're talking about organizations or private people who want to rent for a wedding or that kind of thing. But the programs will be free. The YMCA will have some their programs will be have a cost to it. But we're establishing right now. We've started already establishing a scholarship fund, and so we will have I intend to have to amass over a period of time a pretty good scholarship fund. So that will help take care of instances where families or organizations can't afford it, or children can't afford it, to go to summer camps and things of that nature. So there's more than one way to create access. It doesn't have to be free, but you can create access without it being free. So I intend to have access for everyone who wants to come to the community center. I mean, the kids that want to be involved in the STEM program, or they want to be involved in the esports program, I intend to work with the Y to make sure that there's access.
Sorry, Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Smith. Just for a point of clarity, when we use the amount of $10 million, that's inclusive of renovating the existing 98 South building, as well as the addition of a gym in the back, correct? That's all encompassing the entire footprint.
Correct.
Okay.
Alan has it estimated 11.5 right
Yeah,
now.
just
And-
the existing building will be got renovated.
It'll
All
be
the
good.
system will be replaced. Everything inside will be gutted. The gym itself, I think, is somewhere around $2 to $3 million to build. So the interior renovation is probably around $7 million or so. One other thing that we include in the project is that we always have an interest to improve the facade of the building facing South Main Street. So that facade will be that exterior wall will be looked at very carefully by the design team and open it up, because it's not very inducive to for the streetscape. So that's something that is part of the I think we budgeted maybe $700,000 to do that in the front.
And thank you for that. Just as a follow-up, is there are any of these dollars allocated for any type of enhancements as it relates to parking?
No, we do not have any land beyond what we have now. So in the past, the conversation is that we are going to communicate with the church at the corner to see whether somehow we can work out a relationship with them for parking during weekdays and stuff.
Thank you.
I'm not involved in those conversations. That's really on a different. It's really up to the administration to reach out to the church to talk about it.
Yeah,
I think there's some
administration
interest in it.
Yeah, the administration is reaching out to more than one church, several churches. Plus, there's a school there as well, school park there. So they're reaching out.
What's the time frame, Rob? Do you have a time frame of when this project will be done?
Well, Alan has a time frame. We're talking about maybe late winter of 2025 or early spring of 2025 to have opening.
Yeah, because we're using the ARPA funding, we have to have a signed construction contract by before the end of next year. So we're gonna go through the whole spring for designing, construction drawing and complete those drawings by August to September. We go out to bid. The bids come back. We have to go through the whole approval process by this committee and the full common council, and then we got to execute a contract before the end of December next year. So construction I anticipate taking I would say about 15 months. So that put us into 2006 in the spring.
2026. 2026 in the spring.
Yeah. So year and a half from next winter. So the 2005, six spring of 2006, 26.
Yeah, or late fall, late winter. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to need to hire, and so that this position will also be in this budget request. We're going to have to hire a center manager a year out, because it's going to take a year to develop policies, procedures, training, hiring. It's going to take ordering equipment, furniture, and that kind of thing. So we'll be doing that, and we'll bring before the Rec and Parks Committee through referrals and through talking to the community and working with the council and everyone that has a concern or interest at putting together an advisory council that we'll bring to the Rec and Parks Committee. So we'll start working on that probably this fall.
Thank you.
This coming fall.
Jim, you have your hands raised?
Jim?
Yes, can I speak?
I'm
Yes.
sorry. It's not my place.
No, I didn't hear you call on me. every time I think about this property, I think back to when I joined the BET back in 2017 or 2018. And the immediate thought always comes to mind is this being a money pit. It seems like it's been going on for years and years and years. And my initial feeling is that I should vote against this. However, I think what's changed is we have somebody like Robert who's going to be overseeing this. And just now, as he was talking about the plans for the future and what can be done and how he's going to reach out to the rest of the community, I would be in favor of voting for this. So, Robert, I'm putting all my faith in you to make this happen.
Thank you. Yeah.
You know, and I'd just like to add on to that. You know, this building has really been, you know, with the YMCA, we had so much hope for those plans, and then to lose that was really devastating, frankly, really upsetting to me. And so, Mr. Stowers, I just really want to thank you for your vision and leadership. You know, you're just terrific. That's all I can say. And just really, you know, as Mr. Freyer said, I mean, you know, we're trusting the stewardship of the building to you, and really appreciate what you're bringing to it.
Yeah. Well, when you've had 40 years of park experience, it's and Dewan, I want you to know that there are several community centers that we opened in communities similar to South Norwalk. In fact, there's about 4 of them in housing projects that we opened up, and they're quite successful. And some of your NBA basketball players have come out of there, a lot of them. And so, you know, and I want to work with you. I want to work with the council and make sure we get this thing right.
You better get it right.
I better.
I could definitely help on the community side and getting people involved. So
that's great.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, opposed. Okay, that passes unanimously. Okay, item D. Review construction management, CM, proposal for the Cranberry Park Gallagher Mansion Improvement Project, and refer the following to the Common Council for approval. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Downs Construction Company, LLC, as the construction manager for the Cranberry Park Gallagher Mansion Improvement Project. Terms of the agreement shall include pre-construction services, $49,300. CM fixed fees, 2.5%. CM contingency, 5%. Balance revert to the city at project completion. General conditions fee, $581,539. Actual amount to be determined at the time of GMP. Subsequent to trade contractors bidding, final GMP amendment will be submitted to the Common Council for approval. Funds for this agreement are available from the state DECD grant, account number 0923-6030-5782-C0831. Will someone move the item, please?
So moved.
Mr. Freyer. Okay, so this is, you know, grants that we've already accepted, designs that have, you know, been looked at. And this is we're approving the construction manager here for this project. Are there any questions or comments? Any additional information that's important, Mr. Lowe?
No, everything's fine.
Yeah, okay. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? One, you're a yes. Ms. Ayers, I didn't see your vote. Okay. Ms. Ayers, I didn't see your vote.
4.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that passes unanimously. And then item E, review bid summary for the animal control facilities improvement projects and refer a recommendation to the Common Council for action. A, Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with VAD Construction Corporation for the Animal Control Facilities Improvement Project for a total not to exceed $248,892.50. Funds are available from account number noted. B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $24,889.29. Funds are available from account number noted. Will someone move that item, please? Mr. Freyer. Thank you, Mr. Freyer. You want to tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah, I don't have too much information. The funding came from a donation from an individual who passed away. So I think it's $300,000 was donated to the city. With that donation, the police department, the animal control center, it's under a division of a police department. So they work together with my staff on Neil to work out what the facility needs, and they came up with a list of items and got the drawings prepared and advertised it and went out to bid. So I don't know too much about it because I didn't really get into detail, but generally speaking, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like some important things that need to be taken care of in that building. So, okay, any questions or comments? Okay, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. And now I will take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Burnett, motion to adjourn. All in favor? Okay. All right, good meeting. We got a lot of work done. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, y'all.
You look exhausted. Oh, good night.